here to stay. I'm here to stay.
The slide has been halted and now it's time to build. Jacko's Addicts picked up a hard-fought point against promotion-chasing Sunderland last time out, but today our attention turns to the trip to Accrington Stanley and hopefully a return to winning ways. As always, we've got a jam-packed show for you today where we will be speaking exclusively to Johnny Jackson and midfielder Alex Gilbey. We'll also look back on last weekend's draw against Sunderland here in SE7 and we head down memory lane with another one of our former international addicts. Lots to squeeze in as always, and I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by Alan Curbishley and alongside him, Mr. Steve Brown. Curbs, it's a 500-mile round trip from here to the WAM Stadium, so it's hardly a surprise Mr. Brown has elected to spend his afternoon with us in the studio.
I know, he was like that when he found out about it.
Oh, listen, I don't have any say on that.
Well, Brownie, we should let you defend yourself because you did do a couple of long trips last month, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, didn't bear any fruit either, did they? But yeah, I don't mind the driving, to be fair. I'm quite happy in my own company.
Well, Curbs, let's look ahead to today and make no mistakes about it. This is going to be a tough afternoon. Accrington Stanley have claimed 34 points at home, and that kind of home form ranks them up with playoff contenders like Wycombe, MK Dons, Ipswich and Portsmouth. It's going to be tough, isn't it?
Absolutely. And when I think about League One, you think about teams like Accrington Stanley. You know, we've often said on this show that there's so many ex-Premier League clubs. But, you know, when you think about League One, they're the sort of clubs that they've come up from perhaps non-league and have been thrashing around in the lower leagues. And the stadium's not the best and they're normally a big, strong side and they really put you to the test. And that's what I'm expecting today.
And Brownie, I think it's safe to say Accrington Stanley away from home isn't the first fixture we look for at the start of the season. But that being said, the players' mentality this afternoon has to be spot on.
Yeah, and that works in their favour in terms of you do look at that fixture and you go Accrington, they've come through the leagues relatively quickly. I was up there last year and it's a tough fixture. You know, you've already mentioned they're very strong on their own patch. In fact, they're pretty poor away from home at the moment, very, very strong at home. But it's a tight, compact little ground. It's like a little non-league ground that's come through leagues a little bit too quickly and they're catching up. I can't remember if there was a little slope on it, but I know the conditions last year were tough. There was a very strong wind, very direct football from Accrington. Literally, you know, smacking balls in behind us for 45 minutes. And I think you said in the studio it was a tough watch.
Well, when you're looking at today's game, their strengths are the things we've been struggling with, set plays especially. And being turned around and, you know, having one touch and putting it into the box and you've got to defend it. And I think when we go through the side Jacko's put out, you can understand why in some respects. But the only thing is, and Brownie knows as well as anyone, that when you play against this sort of opposition, you don't want to get caught up in trying to play the same way because they're better at it, because that's what they do. And, you know, it's up to us to get that ball down and try and get our better players on the ball. But we've got to do the defensive side first, and if we start off like we did in the last away game at Sheffield, where we never got out of our box for 10 or 15 minutes and conceded, then we'll be in for another afternoon.
And hopefully the conditions will work in Charlton's favour this afternoon. It's a pretty decent afternoon out there.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get the wind as being as much of a factor as it was last year, but like I said, I think, you know, if the ground's firm as well, you know, and the ball's bobbling about a bit, Curbs is right. We've got to be brave. We've got to be better in possession. We've got to have more players willing to be, you know, receiving the ball in tight areas because they will test you. You know, they buy specifically for the way they play. They don't have a big budget. It's very restricting who they can bring in. So they have a style of play that reflects that, and they won't really bring anybody away from that style. So they're very good at what they do. You know, and we've got to make sure that we get in amongst that, protect our goal, you know, a bit better than we have been. I know last week's clean sheet was perfect timing for us because we've been struggling to keep them, but we're definitely going to have to defend that box well today.
Yeah, we certainly will, and it tees things up rather nicely with less than 45 minutes to go until kick-off. Earlier this afternoon, I caught up with manager Johnny Jackson via Zoom. Here's what he had to say. Johnny, thank you for joining me. Let's start by rewinding to last week, a hard-fought, gritty point against Sunderland, matched by a clean sheet as well. And from your perspective, has that been something to build upon this week?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was an encouraging performance, considering sort of the run of results and fact that we'd been conceding goals in games. So the clean sheet was really important, something to build on. Obviously, we want to add more than that. The clean sheets, you know, they're a bedrock. They give you an opportunity to go and win games. We wasn't able to do that last week, but it was a good point. But hopefully we can build on that with a victory today.
You've had a clear week in terms of the schedule, which is a bit of a luxury come this part of the season. What's it been like down at Sparrows Lane training with the boys this week?
Really good. Yeah, had another good week. It's always better prep, if you like, to have that clear week so you can have a real focus about your work on the training pitch and really prepare for the team that you're playing against. So always happy when you get that opportunity, and hopefully the work that we have done will show in the performance.
What's been really nice to see in recent weeks is a slight let-up on the injury front. Can you give us a bit of an update and talk us through your starting 11 today?
Yeah, well, obviously we are slowly starting to get players back. Obviously, Jaden's back in the fold, and he come through 90 minutes last week unscathed, so that was really good. And today we get Connor Washington makes the bench. He managed to train with us at the back end of the week, so he's been out a while and hasn't had a lot of training. So wasn't sort of ready to start the game, but he's on the bench today. It's an opportunity for him, hopefully, to get on the pitch. So good to have him back. And as far as the 11, just 2 changes from last week. Sean Clare comes back in after suspension, and John Lico starts up front.
And of course, a trip away to Accrington Stanley is never an easy afternoon. What are you expecting from John Coleman's side this afternoon?
A real tough test, very strong here. Really good home form, very difficult place to come and get a result. They make it very hard for you. They've got a good way of playing that's effective for them, and they'll keep you honest, make you defend. Strong in set plays, so they've got a lot of threats all over the pitch. So we know we're in a tough game today.
And Johnny, I wanted to ask you, your counterpart in the opposite dugout is approaching 1,000 games in management. You've overseen around 13 hours Addicks boss. How do you predict managing the stresses that come with management, looking towards a career like John has had?
Well, he's done unbelievably well, hasn't he, to rack up that amount of games and to stay in the game for as long as he has. So brilliant. Maybe after the game I'll ask him for a few tips how he's managed to cope with the stresses throughout the years. It's something that when you speak to those experienced managers, they'll tell you to try and not get too high at any given stage and not get too low at any given stage, because over 1,000 games, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs, aren't you? So I've had plenty in my short time, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come.
Finally, from me, Johnny, 400 supporters travelling down to cheer the team on. It's fantastic support and another great turnout on the road.
Yeah, as always, brilliant support. Can't thank them enough for making the journey. It's not round the corner. It's a long way up the country. So as always, we'll be doing our best to try and send them home with a smile on their face.
Brilliant. Well, thank you as always for your time, Johnny, and best of luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Great to hear from Jacko there. And here is confirmation of that lineup for Charlton today. Curbishley was your pundit last week, and Sean Clare back in the starting 11 straight away following his suspension.
Well, we know that he's very athletic and he's a good size, so he had to come back. And I'm looking at the makeup of the back 5. It's bigger, stronger, more combative, if you think, for set plays. And plus we've got Stockley back. So, that's one of the reasons I think that Jacko's gone this way, is the balls in the box, the set plays, and trying to defend them. So, and give us some sort of platform.
And Brownie, a change up top as well. Charlton have gone a long time now without scoring a goal, and we see Jonathan Lecco partner Jaden Stockley up top.
Yeah, sadly could be another unwanted record, couldn't it, if we don't score today? Because I think 5 would be a record without scoring. So that's something we want to break through and make sure it doesn't happen. But yeah, I think sometimes when we are a bit shot shy, the manager will keep changing the pairing. Good to see Washington back on the bench. I think he's going to play a part as the game enters its latter stages. But yeah, I think looking at that setup, I think it's important Fraser and Elliott get on the ball. What Kurz was talking about earlier, we've got to break their pattern. To break their pattern, those 3 midfielders have got to start interchanging passes between each other, breaking the lines, getting in between. I think if we get involved in a long ball game, they're more accustomed to dealing with that than we are. So can we get the ball down? Can we get those midfielders linking up? Which then allows the wing-backs time to get forward a bit more. We've been pegged back in recent games because we haven't kept possession well enough. If we can do that, that should get the supply into the front two a bit better.
And because we spoke about the clean sheet and how important that was alongside the point, Pearce in particular, a real captain's performance. But how important is it for the wing-backs as well to do their defensive duties when we play the system that we do?
Yeah, well, you're looking at Pemberton. We know that he's big and strong and decent in the air. Is it going to be Gutner who's going to be playing as a centre-half or Clare as the full-back? You don't know yet, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so rumours were that was the other way around, wasn't it? Clare was going to go wing-back.
I think Clare might be the wing-back. Okay. He's more athletic. And Gutner... I thought he had a decent game last week at the back, so but that's interchangeable, isn't it? We'll have to see how they cope. But I can see that back five, why he's picked that back five, Jacko, and it's nice to see Fraser again. And as Brownie's saying there, that he's been bought to make things happen. So we've got two midfield players. Elliott needs a goal, needs to get in that final third and open up the defences. So hopefully that'll happen. And Dobson needs to be the player he's been since he's been in the side, really, and that's snuffing stuff out. Yeah,
he's had a phenomenal season, hasn't he? As always now, though, let's take a little look at the current standings in the table. We'll start with the bottom half, as that's where we currently find ourselves. We are 16th as things stand with 40 points, a point above 17th place Shrewsbury Town, but with a game in hand. And although we can't go any higher today with a win, we do have 2 games in hand on Burton and 1 on both Cheltenham and Cambridge. Looking at the top half now, and this afternoon's opponents, Accrington, are currently 12th with 46 points from their 35 games. MK Dons levelled Wigan's points tally midweek with a 3-1 win over Cheltenham Town, albeit having played 3 more games than the Latics. Sunderland returned to the playoff places with a 3-1 win against Fleetwood at the Stadium of Light, as did Plymouth Argyle, who beat AFC Wimbledon 2-0 in Devon. As a result, both Wycombe and Sheffield Wednesday dropped 2 places to 7th and 8th, respectively. And Curbs Brownie, we find ourselves saying it every week, don't we? But goodness me, that playoff race looks exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, we're not featuring in it. But yeah, it's one of those ones where I think there's always a club comes late. And I spoke to somebody about Ipswich Town the other day, and they were very impressed with the new manager and what he's achieving there. Lots of clean sheets. They've been climbing the table. And he said if we somehow, by hook or by crook, manage to get 6th, he fancies them to go up. Yeah. And that's how late, you can leave it sometimes. The team that goes in late in great form can get up. And that's why the playoffs are so, exciting.
Curbs, from a manager's perspective, would you rather have the points on the board or the games in hand?
I'd rather have the points in the board. But I'm with Steve there. I've been taking notice of Ipswich a little bit. And Wycombe are going that way and Ipswich are going that way. But it's so tight after you take away the top 2 or 3. But you can see that Sunderland had a terrible run. They've put 3 or 4 games together and they've gone back in it. And that's what you need to do. I think I looked at Accrington there. They're probably punching above their weight, I suppose, in the top half of the table. And that's why Coleman's done such a good job. But for us now to finish anywhere in that top half, we've got to start putting a run together.
There will be plenty of twists and turns, no doubt, and there is a full fixture schedule in League One this afternoon, so let's take a look. Table toppers Rotherham do battle with 7th place Wycombe at Adams Park, while 2nd place Wigan travel to MK Dons. The Dons and the Latics are currently level on 72 points, so like I said earlier, Wigan do boast having 3 games in hand. 2 of the division's form sides in Ipswich and Portsmouth square off at Portman Road, and Gillingham, who we host on Tuesday, have a so-called 6-pointer at Doncaster. Curbs Brownie, what games are standing out for you on that list?
Well, I quite like the Wycombe-Rotherham one because there's contrasting styles there, but there's a couple of big ones. MK Dons Wigan's another fascinating game, but the one that I'll keep my eye on is Doncaster-Gillingham. I think Neil Harris has gone in there and changed the fortunes around somewhat, and if they can start picking up results, I mean, they've been harder to beat for a start. But he picks up a result today and suddenly they're starting to look like they could get out of trouble. Yeah,
on that note, Curbs, as I said, AFC Wimbledon now winless in 17 league games, and that does give the Gills an opportunity to close that gap further. Well,
it does, and, as we're saying there, that since Harris has gone in there, they've picked up a bit, and that's what you want when a new manager goes in. And if they can get anything today, they will come here Tuesday, with a decent following we like to think, and you know, turn it into perhaps a big game.
Yeah, that Ipswich Portsmouth one, as I'm just looking at the screen, that's another one there. Both just outside the playoffs. We've been talking up Ipswich, but those are the ones they got to win. You know, Portsmouth had a nice little bounce back actually. Cowley brothers have done well to turn that round, but yeah, if Ipswich win that one today, you will start. Teams above them will start having a little look over their shoulder at them.
Yeah, you can imagine it's going to be a cracking atmosphere at that game. Plenty more coming up about this afternoon. But for now, let's take a little look at some club updates for you. Ticket news first. Next Saturday's visit of Burton Albion marks the return of the club's annual Football for a Fiver initiative, with every seat at the Valley reduced to just £5. Tickets are also available for Tuesday's fixture against Gillingham here in SE7, with next month's meetings with Lincoln and Morecambe at the Valley, both on general sale now too. Head to booking.cafc.co.uk to secure your tickets for all 4 fixtures now. A streaming update next, and supporters are reminded that today's game is only available to live stream outside of the UK and Ireland, as per EFL broadcast rules. As is the case with every Saturday 3 p.m. game this season, we can only live stream outside of England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Jersey, Guernsey, the Isle of Man and Ireland. Overseas fans can purchase a match pass for today's game for just £10 by going to cafc.co.uk. We can also confirm, like all other EFL clubs, CharltonTV has suspended the broadcast feeds of its matches in the Russian Federation due to the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine. On Tuesday, fans all over the world, including those in the UK, will be able to purchase a match pass for our fixture against Gillingham. Scott and Curbs will have Robert Lee alongside them in the studio, and as always, match passes are priced at £10 each and can be purchased online by visiting that website, cafc.co.uk. This week, Charlton announced a 5-year partnership with RSK, which will help the club become more environmentally sustainable. The deal will see RSK become the club's official sustainability partner, and RSK's logo will sit proudly on the front of the Addicks home shirt from the start of the 2022-23 season. Charlton TV will have an exclusive interview detailing the partnership with the club's commercial director, Wayne Mumford, on Tuesday's production. Next, the club would like to thank supporter Tom Davis for giving the Charlton TV production team a good laugh during the week. He posted this photo on Twitter of his ticket for today's match, which had been chewed up by his dog, Curbs Brownie. I've heard the excuse of your homework being eaten by your dog. I've not heard it about your match ticket. That's a new one for me.
I don't even get our games these days, don't they? It's a bit harsh.
Absolutely anything at all.
Why is it called the Wham Stadium? Can someone tell us that one?
No idea.
Blasting a bit of George Michael before kick-off, perhaps.
No idea.
I should say, though, that the supporters that is in question, Tom, there, has been given a new ticket, so he will be able to get into today's game. But let's just hope that's not too much of an omen going into it. But let's focus back now on some more club news for you. And a big game tomorrow afternoon. Karen Hills' Addicks are in league action when they welcome league leaders Liverpool to the Oakwood in Crayford. Tickets are priced at £10 for adults, £5 for concessions, with supporters encouraged to get their tickets to get behind Charlton as they look to return to winning ways, having suffered a first league defeat in 7 away at Sunderland last weekend. Supporters who can't attend tomorrow's game at the Oakwood will be able to watch all of the action live on the FA Player for free. Simply head to the FA Player website to register your free account. Coverage will start shortly before the kick-off, which is at 2 p.m. Right, youngsters Daniel Canoe and Tyrese Campbell recently handed their debut starts for the senior team. This week, they were presented with their shirts from the club. Let's have a little look.
It's great to see everybody here this morning, first team, under 23s, under 18s, and of course many staff here, including the manager. It means a great deal for our young players to make their first team debut. These 2 lads have done extremely well and deservedly got that opportunity, and we want to continue this tradition.
Dan Kanu being Dan Kanu is just, it was such a smooth ride for him and transition because of his attitude, application, desire to develop, and his attitude towards learning. So very assertive, confident, knows what he wants from the game, and he scores goals. So really pleased with him. There's a lot of work to be done with him as well, but somebody who scores 40 goals a season at scholarship level, I mean, it's limitless what he can do in the future.
I've worked probably more closely with Tyrese right back when he was like under 13, 14, and he's a real exciting prospect. Very, very good 1 versus 1, athletically very capable as well in a foot race, ability to create and score goals, and both highly regarded within the football club, and it's up to us now to, they've made the debut, which is great. There's been a few appearances, but it's a case of can we keep refining them and can we keep pushing them to extend them, so hopefully they can not only be a big part, but they can actually supplement our first team squad and enhance it.
It's a real proud moment for myself, the academy and the club, to have one under 17 and one under 18 scholars, both scholars making their debut for the first team and then presented with the shirts in front of everybody. It just makes the job worthwhile.
To have those players, among others, because we've got a talented under-18 squad, led brilliantly by Hamza and Steve. We're confident that we can get more along that pathway into our 23s and hopefully again towards our first team.
A very proud moment for the pair there, and also their coaches involved as well. And guys, that's a touch that the club has done recently, and it's really nice to see, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely. I wasn't around.
What did you get in your day?
Like Curb said, I got a pat on the back and some appearance money, which is lovely. But they get a V number as well. I don't know if you get a V number for coming off the bench or you have to start, but you get a V number and it tells you, your 924th player to play for Charlton. You'll have one as well. Yeah. I got told mine, but it's 500 and something, I think. But they're all important milestones. They really are. And it's a case of you break in, you get a footing into the first team, and then you're trying to get into that regular spot. And you've got to more often than not, you've got to knock a senior player out or somebody more experienced than you. But making your debut is special.
Yeah, it's special, and a lovely VT there from the training ground. Right, we always like to take a little trip down memory lane and have a chat with international addicts as well. And I'm delighted to say right now we get to combine the two because we are joined via Zoom by former striker Matt Svensson. Matty, I hope you can hear us nice and clear. Warm welcome to Charlton TV.
Thank you very much.
We're having a little look back here at some classic moments in a Charlton shirt.
About 20 kilos ago.
Number 2, Svensson from Newton.
Svensson! Charlton breakthrough with a quarter of the game to go.
Matty, thank you so much for joining us. First things first, where in the world are you joining us from?
Right now I'm in Gothenburg in a paddle place, a popular sport that's been growing very quickly, and my girlfriend is playing paddle in a tournament here, so I'm here watching.
Awesome, and we always like to find out from our guest what words Curbs used to convince you to sign. So can you recall what was said to you back in 2000 to get you to sign on that dotted line for the Addicts?
I think it was quite easy actually. I was playing for another team in London, and Curbs made a call to me and wanted to meet up and told me about the plans. And obviously Charlton was second or third in the league in the championship when he called me. So it was a big opportunity to arrive to a team and a club that had achievements of going up to the Premier League. So it was not. He didn't have to do a lot to make me to sign for Charlton.
And Curbs, I'll whisper the name of that other club, Palace. But you spent a lot of money bringing Matt into the club. He was obviously a player that you valued very, very highly. What was it about him that made you want to bring him into your squad?
Well, he scored a couple of goals with his head there, but it was more his feet and the fact that he could lead the line. We had Hunty there as well, and my big thing was, could the pair of them complement each other? And it's exactly what they did. And you know, in both boxes as well, which is what we've been talking about today. You know, when we had Sven and Hunty coming back to defend set plays, and we had the other boys as well. You know, Brownie was there occasionally. We was a big, strong side, and you know, in that championship you need to be. And no, you done ever so well for us, and you know, scored some really good goals.
And Matt, when you joined us, the boys were on a fantastic winning run, 8 games in a row. What was it like to join a team that were absolutely flying like that?
No, it was good because the whole atmosphere there, all the 3.5, 4 years that I was at Charlton, it's sort of a familiar, sort of everyone gets together really, really well, and the club really took care of everyone. So it was very, very easy. I've changed clubs quite a few times, and to see Charlton and maybe a few others, you've been really taken care of in a good way, because everyone from the management to all the players and everyone around the club was really, really supportive and helping out that you should feel comfortable and being well taken care of. So it was very, very easy to join Charlton.
That's part of the Charlton DNA, isn't it? And it took you a few weeks to get your first goal. When it did arrive, it came the 4-0 win over Grimsby, which we can see now. Was that a relief for you? Because the team were obviously in great form. Did you feel any pressure to score your first goal for the club?
I did. I think we can all agree here that my first couple of months or 3 months for Charlton was really bad. I didn't perform as well as I wanted to, and to come from the other club from London, it's probably a little bit more pressure as well. But again, Curbs and Mervyn and everyone around the club had faith in me, and I just had to keep on going. And finally, the first goal came, and after that, it was so much easier. But no, I didn't perform well the first 3 to 5 months in the club.
Brownie, Curbs mentioned him earlier. Obviously, Andy Hunt was the main man, but with Matty coming in halfway through the season, did he do a lot of kind of Andy's dirty work, so to speak, in that final half of the season?
No, I think what you have to take from the signing of Matty was that we had 2 very, very good wingers, very quick wingers who could both deliver in the middle of the 6-yard box. And what Sven used to do very, very well was pick his runs out. He was very, very strong aerially, not just aerially. He'd hold centre halves off, so he'd hold the ball up for us. He was quiet how he went about his business. He wasn't one of these ones that strutted around the pitch trying to, you know, show everybody that I'm tough. He was just tough, but he didn't need to show it. He took up very good positions, and it complemented our 2 wingers. So once you saw Newts putting a cross there, he would have fed off those crosses from John Robinson and Newts all day long. So once you, listen, some people settle in straight away, some people take a little bit of time to settle in, but once Matty had settled in, got used to, you know, sort of the rhythms of the team, big asset to us.
Yeah, Matt, you do have a very historic Charlton goal to your name. You scored in the 1-1 draw against Blackburn that secured the First Division League title for us back in April 2000. That was our first championship title since 1935. What are your memories of that day?
Well, I thought I would go into prison after stealing that goal from Hunty there, but no, it was obviously a great thing to be able to crown ourselves as champions and being sort of going up to the Premier League and everything. But it was also, a few years ago, I played a Trivial Pursuit in Sweden, and it was actually a question about who scored the winning goal for Charlton. But I think that was just sort of a little milestone of our season, because we had a great season from when I came up, and even before that they played really, really well. So it was just, well, it could have been anyone, and it's not a big difference to score that goal. I think the whole team made really well during the last 3-4 months of the run into the winning the championship.
And Brownie, I think we've got a great photo of you and Matt celebrating. I mean, it must have been some party that evening.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to party. You know what he's like. You can't get too high, you can't get too low. But listen, that was my absolute favourite year in football, bar none. That squad, that year, winning the championship. It's not easy to, when you get relegated, to bounce back. And I mean, you just look at that team, and it was very, very united. And it didn't matter if you came late, didn't matter if you came in January, didn't matter if you'd been there 5 years. It pretty much was very tight. Yeah, you know, it was a very, very good squad. That squad.
Looking at, you know, we had Hunty and Sven, and then after that, you know, you've got to strengthen. We brought Jonathan Johansson in and Yuli came in, and the competition was there, and we had to have competition, and injuries come along. But yeah, that squad, I think, was the squad that you could have just sent out with no instructions. And perhaps if me and Merv didn't turn up for the training, they'd just get on with it, you know, and someone to take charge. It was that sort of group, and there were so many leaders in it. And Sven was a leader. You know, he was tough on the training ground and tough on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly the kind of player you need in your squad. Yeah. And Matt, let's fast forward to that Premier League era. Unfortunately, you broke your arm just before the season started. How gutting was that?
That was not. Yeah, that was a tough hit on me. Had a good pre-season. Looking forward to sort of show everyone at the Valley what I could do for real, and managed to break up my arm in the first pre-match game, so it was a bit tough. But it took a few months, and then I had the opportunity to come on against Middlesbrough, which was a great day to remember.
Well, professionals like you come back from setbacks like that, and as we're seeing now, scoring that goal on your Premier League debut, that must have been a real dream come true.
It was. The best thing was that I had to show my name on the backside because they spelled my name wrong. So I had to show them, you know, it's I'm here now, and I'm trying to score goals, but I have to get the kit man to try and spell my name right.
He's got Klaus there. He's got Jonathan Johansson. There was a little group that could talk, and the rest of the boys couldn't understand half the things they were saying.
Oh, that's brilliant. But Matty, looking back at Charlton's time in the Premier League, we were used to causing upsets on a quite frequent basis. What do you think was the key ingredient to that success?
Well, it's obviously important from a team perspective that you sort of want to do things together, and you want to achieve goals together, and you have to have your mindset for what you should achieve and what you should aim at. And then you have to sort of put your goals up and get the team together, pre-season right, make all the runnings and all the exercises and training to sort of be able to go into the season and really, really perform. And I think the whole management and everyone around Curbs and everyone had the same sort of gut feeling that we should do this together. And when we did, and obviously the family sort of relation that everyone had at the club, it's very, very easy. I think you can see a lot today. It's a lot more business today, more money involved in football, and you know, it's not the same where you have the heart and love for the game. But hopefully that can come back in one way. But for Charlton's sort of view, it was I think the whole team feeling around it, that we did things together.
And Curbs, how important were players like Matt? I'm sure we can put Brownie in the mix as well. Not necessarily grabbing all the headlines week in, week out, but the ones that you could rely on to do a job.
I was just thinking about today's game. You know, if Brownie and Matt and one or two others were sitting in the dressing room, we wouldn't need too much of a team talk. You know what's coming, you know what you've got to do and what you've got to deal with. And, you know, they'd have gone out and physically would have been comfortable. And then obviously football-wise, they'd have gone on and got the result. But, you know, in the Championship then you had a few of these games, and you had to turn up and you had to make sure they knew that they were in a game.
Well, look, Matt, thank you so much for joining us on Charlton TV. Fast forwarding back to the present day, this time last week, we hosted Sunderland, a 0-0 draw, a draw that ended the rot. Let's have a look back at the highlights from that game. And like we both said, we were all here last week, weren't we? And it was just so important to get some kind of performance, some kind of reaction from that game. And we had to rely on Craig McElvery to have a good performance in between the sticks.
And a bit of luck as well, because they got their head on set plays again and didn't capitalise on it. And, you know, we were struggling in the first 10 or 15 minutes from the set plays. And then we got back into the game.
He had a few too many free headers, Stuart, didn't he, from the early set pieces. We did sort that out, actually, as the game progressed. But, yeah, it was one of those games where I think at the end of it, it was immaterial what happened inside the 90. You know, it was very, very important that we kept a clean sheet and didn't lose again. And we managed to do that. And that should hopefully give the players and the management and the staff, you know, a week where they can not worry about, oh, it's 5 straight losses, it's, you know, 6 straight losses, etc., etc. So they can actually build on that clean sheet and that platform.
Curbs, you mentioned Chris Gunter. We can see his goal line clearance there. It was a decent afternoon's work from him.
Yeah, he come into. I don't think he's ever let us down, really. You know what you're going to get from Chris, and we needed his size as well in both boxes. Was that Lavelle? I think.
Yeah, that was a golden opportunity, wasn't it?
He had a good chance.
It's not quite as golden as Stockley's when we see that in a bit.
Yeah.
I thought that was a magnificent opportunity. I was actually waiting for the flag and it didn't come. But again, you need McGilvray here. That's actually a good move. Ball drops. Stewart's on his way. It's a lovely ball fed through, great weight, and it's slightly fortunate it's from the angle it's at, but he still has to make the save, and it's a good save low down. This is the chance, I think.
Yeah. He'd be really disappointed with that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, really.
I mean, he's been out a long while. You know, let's give him that, but he'd have been really disappointed with that opportunity.
Yeah, and a game of few chances. You don't get many gilt-edged ones like that. It's just a case of getting that on target from the range he was at. If you hit that into the ground low and hard at pace, anywhere in between the sticks, and the keeper's got a bit of trouble.
Snatched it, timing, just snatched it and got it all wrong.
And Brownie, we did get a first clean sheet in 8 games. From a defender's point of view, what will that do for their confidence?
Well, it should give the whole team a little bit of confidence, to be brutally honest, because you know, when you ask me in the lounges, you know, what can we do? What can we do when we're losing game after game? My reaction is always to go back to being really difficult to break down, really hard to beat. Get back into position quicker, protect the centre of the pitch a bit more, allow your opposition to go wide, and get back to that feel where you're all comfortable in your jobs. I think as the season goes on, you get a bit looser, don't you? You start chasing and you get caught between maybe 2 or 3 different styles. You know, do we press high? Are we having a low block, etc., etc.? And always, when you have a run of poor results, go back to being really tight defensively behind the ball. And although Sunderland had some opportunities, by and large they were on the angles or at set pieces, right? And they're things you can cope with. You should be able to batten down on the set pieces. And if the shots are coming in from angles, that makes life a little bit easier to get back on the goal line and make the clearances Gunter did, or your keeper makes the save with his legs. But yeah, I think confidence-wise, it's a boost for sure, isn't it?
I think as well, if you do get into that situation where you're trying to defend your box and you know you're going to make it difficult, that first goal is vital. And we've been letting the first goal in too many times, and then having to chase the game, and players then have to start taking a little bit more risks and whatever. And the manager has to start making decisions. It'd be nice if we could turn that round today, get ourselves in front. So John Coleman's got, with his 1,000 games or whatever, he's got to start making some decisions.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, it was a real positive to see Jayden Stockley get 90 minutes under his belt. Supporters were delighted, teammates were, especially midfielder Alex Gilbey. He spoke to Charlton TV yesterday.
To go on the losing streak we did, obviously as players and as staff, it's obviously not good enough for a club like this. It's been really tough, I feel like. Obviously not having our key strikers, key players, it's always hard. But the result against Sunderland the weekend was massive. I think we needed to stop the rot after the defeats we've had. And obviously for Sunderland to come here, top team, we score a lot of goals and we get a 0-0, obviously. I know we know we can be better on the ball. Obviously, I think Piercy come out and said we've gone back to basics. So yeah, it was a really good point. And obviously to have the big man back in Jayden meant we could get up the pitch, we could press people better. So it's just an all-round stop the rot, and we can look forward to the weekend. I was thinking about Jayden Sunday night, weirdly enough, and obviously just how good it was to have him back, because obviously he's such a key part of our change room and how we play as a team. So obviously any team in this league, if they never had a Jayden Stockley, a Connor Washington, a Chuks and Ike, are struggling. I don't care who they are, they're struggling. So it's been a tough few weeks for us, but we finally got him back, and I was just thinking how good it is to have him back. So yeah, I put a little tweet out there, and he was buzzing off it, to be fair. You know what Jayden's like. So, but no, that's all it was, a little bit of appreciation to him.
Momentarily tries a difficult ball, finds Gilbey, super work. Gilbey turns inside, can he finish? Yes, he can! Super goal from Charlton. Just when you thought that ball from Lee was too complicated, too difficult.
And I get on really well with the manager. I feel like since he's come in, he's been really good with me. He's been honest. He's told me when I haven't been good enough, and he's told me when I've had a few good games. So I just need to keep listening to him, keep working hard. I feel like he knows me really well, so he knows when I'm not quite at it. And obviously I feel like last few weeks going in with the results I weren't been quite at it, so it's just good to have someone like that who genuinely cares about us as lads and us as players. So yeah, I just really enjoy working under him, and obviously the result Saturday, obviously he knows how hard it's been recently for the players and for himself, because obviously he's never experienced this before, so it was good to stop the rot for him and for ourselves, and really look forward to Saturday. Going up to Aki the weekend, everyone knows how much of a tough game it is. We need to pick up points. We can't just finish the season and we need to finish the season on a high. I feel like it's a real good place to go. It'll be a tough test, and like the manager said a few times today before training, it's going to be even tougher than Saturday, especially in the conditions up there. So we've just got to make sure we're all in it together Saturday and try and get 3 points. Listen, we know how bad this season's been collectively on the pitch. There's not many people you can take out from this season and say, do you know what, they've been good. So it's really back to the drawing board. We need to look at ourselves. We need to finish the season as strong as possible, because like the manager's told us many times now, we're planning for our future. So if we can finish the season strong, pick up as many points as possible, and then go into the summer, back into pre-season and try and really kick on, because it has to be better than what it has been. So we're looking for these next 7 weeks to really push on and finish the season on high.
Great to hear from Alex there. And Curbs, I thought he spoke very honestly and openly about the tough period of form that the team have been going through recently. And him as well, where he's saying he's not been at it. He was ill, wasn't he? He had COVID really bad. I've been impressed with him when he's played. He is a box-to-box midfield player. Can nick a goal. I'm a little bit surprised he can't get into, he can't get in the 11. But that's the competition that Jacko's got at the moment, and as he said there, they're all playing for their futures. So he's on the bench today. If someone's not doing it, I'm sure Jacko wouldn't hesitate in putting him on. And to have someone like him coming on, it's another strong bench. So to have someone like him coming on, I'll be delighted. Yeah, and as we can see, the players are making their way onto the field of play. Brownie, it's a big 90 minutes ahead, an opportunity to turn last week's point into a good point as well.
Yeah, I think they're all big games at this stage of the season, because I think there's a pride we've got to be playing for if you're in a Charlton shirt at the moment. As Alex alluded to there, it's not been a fantastic season by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, in terms of where expectation levels were, it's been a poor season. So what you can do now as an individual is put your stamp on it for pride, for performance. And hopefully if we get all 10 outfielders and the goalkeeper putting in a performance that's full of pride and passion and effort and commitment, we can get the result. And then you're one step forward. It's a bit more positivity, from the stands and around the training ground, and in terms of how Johnny Jackson will feel driving home, because it's been a tough period for Johnny. You know what it's like, Curbs. Driving home when you're on a run of defeats, it ruins your weekend. Your head's spinning, and you're driving home thinking about changes, where if you get the result, you're thinking about keeping the same side. Well, there are 2 changes to the starting 11. Let's have a little quick look and a reminder. And quickly, someone I feel I need to mention is Jason Pearce, a proper skipper's performance last week. And interestingly, 62.5% of our league points have come out when Pearcey's been in the team. And he's only started 14 league games. So let's see if he can match last week's performance today. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really anything that anybody hasn't picked up on. He's a leader. The difficulty with Jason is if he goes Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, there's going to be a little lag in there in terms of fitness levels when you're not playing regularly. So he goes from not playing regularly to going Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and it catches up with him. But he's undoubtedly the best organiser, the best leader we have. I think Famewell, when he was playing next to Pearce, he looked a lot better because of the communication from Jason. And he is a captain. He's a leader. I think we all know that and understand that. But in terms of the amount of starts he's had, probably not enough. Well, look, it's time now to hand over to this afternoon's commentators, Terry Smith, belated birthday boy Greg Stubley, and Peter Shirtliff.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thanks, Curbs. Thanks, Brownie. And yes, welcome to the Wham Stadium here in Lancashire. Entirely unsure where the Wham Stadium, well, Accrington generally is. We're about 20 miles north of Manchester, sandwiched between